So, how do you define knowledge in this sense? Is it everything that has been consciously known, or is there some other form of knowledge?
That's a really good question because I think knowledge can be seen at many, many different levels. I think ultimately knowledge is this kind of like how intelligence, like I was saying, intelligence works. It's like this medium that can't be pointed to. It's like an energy. It's like an energy field that can be felt or sensed as a human because you have sentience, which means you have a mind.
Hmm.
And that sharing of being human or having sentience between animals and humans and even plants, I would argue, that's what knowledge is ultimately.
Hmm.
But then on kind of one level down would be kind of seen as like a library where you have all of this data and all of these words that have been spoken. So you would read the works of Socrates, the works of Jesus, the works of Buddha, and you would have and Gandhi, for example, and you would consolidate all of these great ideas, and you would try to figure out what works and what would work for everybody.
So, how are
Yeah,
those tiers related or not related?
yeah,
Do they build off of each other?
yeah. So this is what I wondered. So in college, I majored in philosophy, and I was always wondering what was the most fundamental, what was the principle. I don't even know what to call it, an element, but it's not like a chemical element, but just like a realm.
Hmm.
So it's like either you can see that reality starts at the macro level of all of existence, where you're looking from like the nothingness that the Big Bang came out of,
Hmm.
like and you could say that the universe is like this bubble that's happening in this empty void. So that would be like what you would call macro view or
Hmm.
holistic view, and maybe that is the most fundamental. Or the complete opposite would be the incredible micro level,
Hmm.
where you're looking at the subatomic particles that are existing in an atom.
Hmm.
And then you talk about quarks, for example, which are, I think those are smaller. That's one of the smallest subatomic particles in an atom.
Hmm.
But then you say, like, well, what are those quarks and subatomic particles? Where are they coming from? And where are they existing in? And you realize, actually, paradoxically, that's the same like empty space and nothingness that the entire Big Bang came from.
Hmm.
So it's actually like you get at the most fundamental reality of the most fundamental realm of reality, whether you go to the extreme macro or the extreme micro. And
Interesting.
humans live in this happy medium between the extreme macro and this extreme micro,
Yeah.
and that's what our brains our brains are readily readily constructed to kind of live in this environment that's not macro nor micro, but it's like geographical. I think our minds are very geographical in the sense like we use maps to understand countries and landforms, and thinking about like Mars, for example, might be that's like stretching our mental capacities, and
Hmm.
that's why it's so exciting. Um, but yeah, our brains can't comprehend the extreme large and the extreme small.
Hmm.
And that's why I think physics is so exciting, is that it's the attempt to understand the extreme macro and the extreme micro. And I think spirituality and meditation can do the same thing. It's just you're using a different tool. You could either use the scientific method of understanding physical matter, which is would be the scientific method through physics, or spirituality is trying to, and meditation would be trying to figure out all of existence through this tool called the brain and the central nervous system of the human,
Hmm.
which I would say that's very exciting, and I think that's very on the edge. Even though it was created, that whole science called yoga was created about 5,000 years ago, and modern science was created 300 years ago,
Huh.
or right around there, 300 years ago. But I think at some point, like science and deep meditation will actually merge at one, where you have the cutting edge of physics and then the cutting edge of spirituality coming together in the same conversation. And there's actually conferences, like there's one called the Science and Non-Duality Conference that's in San Jose, California every year. And I think I would say that's on a cutting edge.